They say never stare into a mirror too long, especially at night, because sometimes, if you look closely enough, your reflection stops following you. That is what happened to me. I saw myself smiling when I was not, and that smile, it never left. What started as curiosity turned into obsession, then fear, then something far worse. If you think mirrors only reflect, you are wrong. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and whatever you do, do not look too long. Asterisk, I have always been fascinated by mirrors. As a child, I would spend minutes, sometimes hours, just staring into one, tilting my head, making faces, trying to catch my reflection doing something it should not. It was an innocent game back then, like daring yourself to look into a dark closet or checking under the bed even though you knew nothing was there. But now, I avoid mirrors whenever I can. I cover them with cloth or turn them toward the wall. I cannot even look into a spoon without feeling watched. It all started when I moved into a new apartment, my first place alone. It was nothing special. One bedroom, barely enough space for my books and clothes, and a bathroom with an old, wall-sized mirror that had probably been there since the 1970s. The place was cheap, quiet, and far enough from everything that I could finally focus on writing. I told myself I needed solitude to finish my first novel. What I got instead was something I cannot even name. At first, it was normal. I would wake up, make coffee, check my emails, and sometimes glance at my reflection while brushing my teeth. Nothing unusual, but there was always this strange feeling like the mirror was too deep, like it went further than the wall behind it should allow. The glass had this odd, faint hum to it. Not a sound exactly, but something I felt more than heard. It made my skin crawl in a way I could not explain. Then came the dream. It was simple at first, me standing in front of the mirror, brushing my hair. But instead of following me, the reflection would pause. It blinked when I did not. It smiled. When I was still, I would wake up sweaty, heart racing, only to convince myself it was just stress, just isolation, maybe even a little homesickness. I wanted so badly to believe it was nothing, but I was wrong. That mirror, my mirror, was not reflecting me. It was watching me, waiting, and I had already looked for far too long. Asterisk, it happened one evening, sometime after midnight. I had been up late writing. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of my laptop and the occasional creak from the old ceiling fan. I got up to stretch, wandered into the bathroom to splash water on my face, and glanced just briefly at the mirror. That was when I saw it. A crack, thin and delicate, running from the top right corner of the glass and splitting downward like a hairline fracture in ice. I stepped closer, frowning. I was sure it had not been there earlier. I reached out, touched the cold glass with my fingertips. It felt smooth, unbroken. I leaned in. The crack was still there, but I could not feel it. It was like it was beneath the surface inside the mirror, not on it. I dismissed it, told myself the mirror was old, warped, probably had a defect. But the next morning, it was gone. No line, no damage, nothing. The glass was perfect again, clear as ever. I even ran my hand across it just to be sure. It made no sense. That same day, the reflection started feeling off, or it lagged, slightly, barely noticeable. I would turn my head and catch the tail end of the motion echoed a fraction of a second late. Blink, and it would blink back just a beat too slow, like a bad video call with just enough delay to unsettle you. One night, I tested it. I raised my left hand, fast. The reflection followed almost instantly, but not quite. Then I smiled. My reflection did too, but it was wider, sharper. Not a mirror of my expression, but a parody of it. Too eager, too knowing, and then it was gone. Back to normal. Just a man standing in front of his own reflection. I stared at myself for what felt like an hour. Nothing, no glitch, no lag, no smile. But when I turned off the bathroom light and closed the door, I could still see that smile burned into the back of my eyes. That night, I covered the mirror with a bedsheet. I did not want to see what came next. Asterisk, something had changed in the apartment. I could feel it the moment I woke up. The air felt heavier, like the pressure dropped without warning. Sounds were sharper, every creak in the wood floor, every rustle of the curtains. even the humming of the refrigerator. But more than anything else, I felt it, a presence, as though something was watching me from just outside my field of vision. Not from the window, not from the hallway, from inside the walls, from behind the mirror. It was subtle at first. The feeling would spike when I passed the bathroom. Even though I had covered the mirror days ago, I would walk past quickly, refusing to look. But I always felt like something was following my movement from behind the cloth, tracking me with unblinking eyes. Then came the noises. They started as faint whispers like wind through a crack, but no windows were open. Then soft tapping from inside the bathroom, rhythmic, patient, not like pipes or mice, more deliberate, more curious. I began to lose sleep. I avoided the mirror completely. I would eat fast, sit with my back against the wall, and keep the TV on just to drown out the silence. But no matter what I did, I felt it watching me. I knew it was still there. One night, the tapping grew louder. It sounded like fingers, human fingers drumming against glass. I sat frozen on the couch, staring at the bathroom door, heart pounding. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But a part of me needed to know. I needed proof that I was not losing my mind. I grabbed a flashlight and moved toward the bathroom. My steps were slow, every creak of the floor making my stomach twist. I reached the door, placed my hand on the knob, and paused. The tapping. Stop. Silence. I turned the handle and pushed the door open. The room was still. The sheet was still covering the mirror. Nothing moved. I stepped in, heart hammering in my chest. I stared at the covered glass. Then the sheet moved slightly, as if something behind it had leaned forward and brushed against the fabric. I backed out of the room and slammed the door. That night, I heard laughter, not loud, not even clear, just soft, low, and impossibly familiar. It was my voice, but I was not the one laughing. I told myself I would never uncover the mirror again, that no matter what sounds came from that room, I would leave the sheet in place. But fear does strange things to a person. It does not just make you avoid the dark, it makes you obsess over it. You start needing to know what is inside, what is waiting. The unknown becomes worse than the threat itself. So one night, after nearly 2 hours of hearing the muffled sound of breathing from inside the bathroom, I gave in. I lit a candle. My hands were trembling as I opened the bathroom door. The air was cold, and naturally cold, and the smell of metal and dust filled the room. I stepped closer to the mirror, staring at the sheet that swayed ever so slightly, like it was breathing. I stood there for a full minute, frozen, heart pounding against my ribs. Then I reached up and grabbed the cloth. I pulled it down. The mirror was perfectly clean. No cracks, no blood, no movement. Just me. I stared into my own eyes, holding the candle beneath my chin. For the first few seconds, nothing happened. But then, as I adjusted the flame, my reflection smiled. I did not. My mouth remained closed. My face was still. But in the mirror, I was smiling. It was subtle at first, a twitch in the corner of the mouth. Then it spread wider, a full grin, a slow, unnatural curve that reached far, too close to the eyes. My real face stayed frozen in horror, but the reflection leaned closer. It tilted its head, not matching mine, and raised one hand, placing it flat against the other side of the glass. I stumbled back. The reflection's grin widened further, splitting ever so slightly at the corners. I saw teeth, too many teeth. My stomach turned. It did not look like me anymore. It wore my face, but it was not me. I threw the sheet back over the mirror and bolted out of the room, nearly tripping on the way out. I locked the door behind me, even though I knew a lock would not stop whatever was inside. That night, I dreamed of mirrors. Endless mirrors, all showing me different versions of myself, crying, screaming, laughing, staring blankly with hollow eyes, and in every one, I was smiling. I woke up with dried blood under my fingernails. I had not cut myself. I had not left the bed. The first voice came at 3:17 a.m. I remember the time exactly, because I had been staring at the glowing red digits on my alarm clock, too afraid to close my eyes. The apartment was silent, no wind, no footsteps upstairs, not even the hum of the fridge, just dead air. Then came the whisper. My name, soft, drawn out, Almost affectionate. It came from the bathroom. I sat up slowly, unsure if I had truly heard it. The whisper came again, louder this time. My name, spoken in my own voice. It was not echoing in the room. It was coming from inside the mirror. I stepped out of bed, compelled more by fear than curiosity. The door to the bathroom was still locked. I leaned in, placing my ear against the cold wood. For a few seconds, there was silence. Then came a second voice, not mine, not anyone I recognized. It was deeper, hollow, like 100 voices overlapping and speaking as one. Let us out. I backed away instantly. The floor felt uneven under my feet, like the apartment was shifting, tilting toward the bathroom, like it wanted me to open the door. I did not. Instead, I went back to bed, turned on every light in the room, and buried myself under the blanket like a child. But I could still hear them, whispering, laughing, chanting things I could not understand in tongues that made my skin crawl. Over the next few days, the voices grew bolder. They followed me. I would be cooking and hear a voice whisper, "Behind you." I would be reading, and something would murmur, "She's watching." Sometimes, I would even hear my mother's voice, dead for 6 years, softly humming an old lullaby she used to sing to me when I was sick. But it was never her. The thing behind the glass was learning, adapting. It was using memory as bait. One evening, I stood in front of the covered mirror and asked aloud, "What do you want?" There was a pause, then my voice answered, clear and calm, "You." I tore the sheet down in anger, ready to face it. But the mirror showed nothing, no smile, no delay, just me. And then I saw it in the reflection behind me, someone standing in the hallway. I spun around. Nothing. When I looked back at the mirror, my reflection was gone. I stared into an empty room. No me, no light, just blackness. Then I heard it whisper again, right behind the glass, "We are already inside." It started with small things. I would walk into the kitchen and find the faucet running, even though I had not touched it. My toothbrush would be wet before I used it. My laptop would be open to files I did not remember, writing pages of text that looked like my style, but darker, more chaotic, filled with phrases like "he sees you when you sleep and you are not the original." Then I began forgetting conversations. Friends would text me, thanking me for late-night calls I never made. A co-worker said I had emailed them a strange audio recording of me humming, slow and eerie, with static in the background. I checked my sent folder. It was there, but I had no memory of doing it. At night, I would hear footsteps that matched mine exactly, but slightly delayed, like someone was echoing my movements from the other side of a thin wall. One morning, I woke up to find my bedroom mirror uncovered. I never took the sheet off. The reflection stared back at me, but my eyes looked wrong, empty, tired. The left eye twitched slightly. Mine did not. I smiled just to test it, and the reflection smiled too, but the teeth were too white, too straight, like someone had replaced my real grin with something borrowed. I backed away, sat down, cried. Was I going crazy, sleep deprived, haunted, or replaced? I began to doubt everything. I would catch my reflection staring at me when I was not looking at it. It was subtle at first, just a sense of being watched. Then I started seeing it blink when I did not. Once, while brushing my hair, I turned slightly, just enough to see the mirror in the corner of my eye, and my reflection did not move. It stood completely still, watching me. Then it smiled. The same slow, wide smile. It was not just copying me anymore. It was studying me, mimicking me, becoming me. I started taking photos of myself, desperate for something consistent, some way to prove who I was. But the photos all looked slightly different. My nose a little sharper, my eyes a little darker, my skin too smooth, too perfect. They looked like me, but not exactly. That was when I stopped trusting mirrors entirely. I covered them all, not just in the bathroom, but in every room, even the screens on my phone and laptop. I used the voice assistant to type, refusing to see myself. I could not risk giving it any more access, any more pieces of me. But it was too late. I was already fading. I would talk to myself in the mirror, trying to stay grounded, asking, "What is your name? Where were you born? Who is your mother?" But sometimes, I could not answer right away. My mind would blank. just for a second, and in that moment, I could feel something else answering inside me. Whispering dot, smiling dot, waiting dot. I was not losing my mind. I was losing myself dot, and the worst part of me did not want to stop it. Asterisk asterisk, desperation is louder than fear. When you feel yourself slipping, when reality feels like melting wax, and every reflection is a stranger's face wearing your skin, you will do anything to take back control. That is how I found the ritual. It started with a dream. I was standing in a candlelit room, surrounded by mirrors. Not just one or two, but dozens, all facing me, all showing different versions of myself, some crying, some screaming, some smiling so wide their cheeks split. In the dream, I heard a voice, my voice, repeating a phrase over and over in a whisper: find the silver key, break the third reflection, let the other inside. When I woke up, those words were still in my head. I wrote them down without thinking. I should have ignored them, burned the page, prayed dot, but instead, I searched. I scoured forums, obscure blogs, even dark web archives I had no business opening. Most of it was nonsense. Rituals promising to summon demons or speak to the dead for a price. But then I found something buried deep in a forgotten archive, the Mirror Gate. It described exactly what I was going through: reflections that lag, changes in the eyes, smiles that come uninvited. It claimed that once a mirror entity attaches to you, it cannot be destroyed. It can only be invited out, given form, separated from your soul. But to do that, you had to perform the severing ritual. All it required was a mirror, a silver object, your own blood, and a willing offering of identity. I gathered what I needed: candles, salt, a small silver ring, and my mother's old vanity mirror that I had kept in a box. I waited until 3:33 a.m., the hour the ritual claimed the veil between sides is thinnest. I drew the circle in salt, placed the mirror upright, and stared into it, whispering my full name 3 times. Then I pricked my finger with a pin and smeared the blood across the glass. Nothing happened at first. Then the mirror shimmered just slightly, like a stone dropped in water. My reflection rippled, then smiled. The same smile. It raised its hand and pointed behind me. I turned. Every mirror in the room, covered and uncovered alike, were glowing faintly from beneath their cloths. I tore one open. Another reflection, smiling. Then another. And another. All of them were me. All of them were smiling. The last step of the ritual required me to press the silver ring against the mirror and repeat: you are not me. I deny you. I cast you out. I did. Once. Twice. On the third time, the mirror cracked, not shattered, but fractured down the middle. The reflection did not vanish. It leaned forward and spoke: thank you. Then it stepped out. The salt circle blew apart. The candles snuffed out. The room went ice cold, and I was no longer alone. Asterisk asterisk, I do not remember falling asleep, or passing out, or blacking out. But when I opened my eyes, I was still in the room, though it did not feel like my room anymore. The walls were the same color, the furniture still in place, but something was wrong. The light was different, dimmer, as if the entire apartment had been submerged in gray water. Even the air felt heavier, like breathing through a soaked cloth. And in the mirror, he was still there. My reflection. Except now he was no longer bound to the glass. He stood just behind me, visible in every reflective surface, but never in the room itself. He whispered, softly, calmly, like he had all the time in the world: you should not have tried to cast me out. I turned. No one. Turned back to the mirror. He was closer. I backed away, heart racing. What are you? I asked, barely able to speak. He tilted his head, mockingly, the way I used to do as a child when imitating adults. I am what was left behind. I am what you ignored. I am what you invited in the moment you first wondered what would happen if your reflection smiled before you did. My mouth went dry. You were always here, I asked. He nodded. Always. Every mirror is a door, not just glass, a window between worlds. Most reflections are just shadows, but sometimes, rarely, if the conditions are right, if the loneliness is deep enough, if the gaze lasts long enough, the door opens. He stepped forward in the mirror, but I still could not hear footsteps. He moved like fog, like smoke pretending to have shape. You are not real, I said. He laughed. My laugh, but warped, stretched. You say that because you want to believe the mirror lies, but the truth is simpler. The mirror does not reflect you. It shows you what watches from the other side. I collapsed to the floor, dizzy. My mind felt like it was splitting, fracturing, just like the mirror. Had he knelt beside me in the reflection, smiling gently. Do you know what hurts the most? He asked. You never looked at me and saw yourself. But I always looked at you and saw home. Tears ran down my cheeks. I do not know why. It felt like grief, not for something I lost, but for something I had abandoned long ago without knowing it. He leaned in close, pressing his hand against the glass. Now that I am here, he whispered, you can finally rest. You have lived long enough. Let me wear you for a while. I screamed, loud, raw. It shook the windows, but no one came. And the only voice that answered me was my own, whispering softly from every mirror, every screen, every spoon and surface in the room. Let go, asterisk, asterisk. I did not sleep after that night. I could not. Every time I blinked, I saw him watching from the mirror's edge. I stopped using the bathroom, stopped washing my face, stopped looking at anything reflective. Even the shine on my phone screen was enough to catch a glimpse of that twisted grin waiting for me. Frozen, patient, but I could feel it growing bolder. He was not hiding anymore. Sometimes, I would turn a corner and see myself standing at the end of the hallway. Same face, same clothes, but wrong, just slightly. Just enough. One morning, I found footprints on the floor, bare, wet, leading from the bathroom to my bed. But the sheets were undisturbed. Nothing was missing, except my toothbrush and my journal, pages torn out, burned in the sink. He was cleaning up after himself, replacing me, piece by piece. I knew what I had to do. If he had come out of the mirror, then maybe I could go in. Maybe I could reverse the ritual, take back what was mine, and seal him where he belonged. I didn't have a plan, just instinct, desperation, and a final shred of identity I clung to like a lifeline. I uncovered the mirror again. This time, I didn't see myself. Not at first. The glass was black, like staring into deep, murky water. My reflection only appeared when I stepped closer, flickering into view slowly. But this time, we weren't sensed. He looked tired, pale. His eyes were red-rimmed like mine, but not from crying, from hunger, from waiting. I want my life back, I whispered. He tilted his head. Then take it. I reached out and pressed both palms against the glass. So did he, and I felt it. Cold, deep, like my hands were sinking through ice. The mirror rippled. My fingertips went numb. Then my wrists. Then everything. I gasped. He grinned, and suddenly I was inside. Inside the glass. I turned around. The room looked the same, but wrong. Everything was mirrored. The writing on the walls, the furniture, the door, it was all flipped. And outside the glass, I saw him in my body, smiling, breathing, walking away from the frame. I screamed, pounded the glass, but no sound came out. I watched as he picked up my phone, scrolled casually, opened the camera, and took a photo of himself. And in the photo, I was not there. Only him. He turned back to the mirror, looked right at me, and mouthed the words, I told you mirrors do not lie. Then he covered the frame. Darkness swallowed me. Asterisk, asterisk. Time lost meaning after that moment. I was trapped inside the mirror's cold prison, a world where my own reflection lived freely in mine. Days, weeks, maybe months passed. There was no sun, no sky, no sound except the faint hum of glass vibrating around me. I could see everything happening outside the apartment, the streets, the people who once cared, but I was a ghost locked behind the surface. Meanwhile, he, the other me, wore my face, lived my life, laughed my laughter, and walked among my friends and family. He knew me better than I knew myself. He had all my memories, all my fears, every secret I tried to bury. And yet, his smile was endless. Not because he was happy, but because he was victorious. One day, as the mirror world grew darker, I noticed something new, a faint shimmer in the distance, a small crack, glowing faintly like a pulse. It was hope, or maybe a cruel joke. I reached for it, desperate, and screamed for help. No one heard. Because the truth is this: we are never truly alone when we look into a mirror. There is always something else. Watching, waiting, smiling back. So next time you glance at your reflection, remember this story. Don't look too long, because you never know who might be looking back and whether it is really you. Asterisk, thank you for watching. If this story gave you chills, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another scary story. Stay brave, and remember, sometimes the scariest thing is what's staring right back at you. See you in the next video.